I mean, I'm still doing wholesaling. And some of them were like, oh, and real estate agents who just don't know how to work with investors. They were like, oh, you can't do this. You know, how are you doing this? You're not allowed to do this. And I've heard it all. And I'm like, well, I am doing it. We've been doing it. Bottom line is, you got to find somebody who actually knows what they're doing when it comes to short sales and working with investors.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, you know, and not all attorneys are created equal. Some know more than others, and you know, I know. I mean, I use Steve Peterson. He understands. He's seen it all. I don't know how we don't. I'm sure we drive him crazy with all the stuff that we do, but you know, this attorney that you're talking about, whose attorney is it, and who found this attorney?
So she's just a regular agent out in Pennsylvania. I had sent the short sale over to a short selling company that handles short sales nationwide. And they said that they actually aren't in that market or in that jurisdiction to do it. And that's why they sent over the file, the case, the situation. They found a realtor, but they found the realtor first and then got back to me. Like, they didn't like reach out to me like, hey, you might want to find a realtor. They found a realtor on their own. And after speaking with the agent, she has not worked with a wholesaler before. So she's apprehensive. She said she's done short sales, but she's never worked with a wholesaler, just regular investors.
Okay. I mean, anyone have anything to tell her about that?
I'm worried that I might just lose out on this one, but it's a learning experience.
In regards to the short selling company, I've been in the business a long time, and I've had lots of solicitations for buying leads from companies like that. So it's very possible that the reason they assigned a realtor to you or gave you this realtor's name is because that person is buying into their marketing efforts, and may or may not be qualified to actually work short sales, but the company doesn't really care because the person's paying the fees to get leads. Right. So it's a kind of a half a dozen of one, six of the other, I guess. Sometimes you get a good one and sometimes you don't.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Colleen is saying. I mean, I have to go back quite a few years, but had similar type situation where there was a short sale company that helped you through the whole process. And they tend, even though they say that they're like a national company, they really are regional because they really can't cover the whole U.S. And they just in specific areas, they're able to deliver all of what they're saying that they would do. The company that I was dealing with back then was, it was really out of Ohio. And so once you were close, I mean, yeah, we're close to Ohio, but the key thing to remember is if you're doing stuff and you're doing it in New York State, everybody sort of says, oh boy, I really don't think I really want to deal with that. And so it didn't work out well. And I mean, when you're first getting started off, I mean, I might be a little bit out of place by saying this, but you want something that's not like overly complex. And when you start adding together, and I missed part of this because I had to take a phone call, but when you start adding together short sales and wholesaling and then getting all these multiple layers of things, that makes it a lot harder when you're just starting off. I mean, clearly you have folks in the room. Well, we're not in the room anymore, but on Zoom, let's put it that way. And you know, we've done a fair number of things, but real estate, if you take like one specific part of it, you can make it be fairly simple. But when you think about it as a subject, I mean, it's pretty broad. You know, it's like math and you're taking algebra after you've learned arithmetic, but you don't understand that at the other end of the spectrum, you got epsilon spaces, which is this crazy type of mathematical stuff. But and real estate is really like that. A long way of saying you really want to learn the arithmetic and the algebra before you go to something that's more complex. Now, at what speed you do that, you know, that's one of the big challenges, because you have folks on the call here that, you know, whether it's Scott or whether it's Joe or Joe McGuire, you know, that they all have certain areas of expertise, but it tends to be fairly marginalized. By that, I mean, they don't try to cover the whole gamut, because that makes life really, really complex. And over time, yeah, certainly you'll get there. You know, Scott Spear, if you do lease to own or rent to own, whichever subject you want to, how you want to define the subject, I mean, he's the guy. He can do it, and he has done very well. And of course, Joe Lababera with wholesaling and Joe McGuire with notes. But a long way of saying, in the very beginning, you don't have to keep it simple, but that would be my suggestion.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, Scott, what's your thought and input on what I'm saying here?
I've done quite a few short sales, and realtors always joke the only thing short about a short sale is when they decide they want to close, and all of a sudden you have 2 weeks to close on it. I've had short sales go 3 months. I've had some take a year. I did have one that took, after 2 years, the bank decided they weren't going to do the short sale after dragging it along. But the big thing that happens is, you're waiting 6 months, 7 months, and all of a sudden the bank says, okay, we're ready to close. And like in 2 weeks, we're going to close. That's the only thing short about a short sale. It is a good way to make money if you can get the house at the right price. The only thing is you have to be ready to close when the bank says it's time to close. And a thing that changes too is the condition of the property could have changed dramatically from the last time you saw it when you originally wrote the offer to when the bank is ready to close. So make sure you do that walkthrough before you close on the property. So that's been my experience in short sales. I've made a good amount of money on a short sale because you're getting a house at the right price. And they keep saying with everything that's going on now currently, there is going to be a number of foreclosures and short sales and all that coming up. I don't know. I don't want to predict that, but it is a good way to make money, but it is slow. It's like Joe Lavera says, it's like me watching you watch grass grow, and right, it takes a long time to do them. So that's why you just have to have a pipeline, a funnel of them. And I would say don't base your career on doing short sales. Make sure you're doing other things too, and just use short sales as a filler. That's kind of been my experience.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that completely. If I was doing something that was short sale oriented, I started it, put it in the funnel, and then basically forgot about it, because you spend so much time just waiting. And it'd be very interesting to know what the exact number is, but typically the vast majority of them that you do, they're not going to come to fruition. It's going to fail. Something is going to happen, and it's not going to be a project that you actually, in the end, make dollars by doing, because it's going to, as Scott indicated, it's going to get cut off by the bank, the seller. I mean, I had one short sale that I was doing, and I worked on it for probably 8 months, and then the person had left New York State, and then we had everything ready. The bank is ready, the funding is ready, and the person just said, I don't care. I don't want to have nothing else to do with it. Don't call me anymore. And that was the end of it.
Right. And I think that this Pittsburgh situation might be something similar, because when I initially reached out to the seller, he was actually ready to just walk away from the house. He had already found somewhere else to live. And I don't know what his expectations are for how long this process would be or how quick it is. So, you know, he is also at liberty to just say, I'm just done with this, because that was his initial feelings anyway.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is that has to happen is when you're talking to the seller has to have some reason why they want to go through the short sale process, and it has to make sense for them. And then it's like, well, how much is it going to impact my credit, and what is going to happen? And so if they come to the conclusion that this is just a waste of my time, it's not going to make that big a deal, because what's going to happen? How much is my credit going to be impacted anyway? And I'll just buy it in my brother's name or my, so they just take another solution, and which just allows them to say, forget about it, I don't care. And then if they really get the I don't care approach to it, then you're done. I mean, that's one of the things that I found that happens fairly often, because they're going to ask you, well, what advantage is it for me? And you can't make up stuff. You got to tell them the truthful answer.
Yeah. That's actually exactly one of his questions. He said, what's in it for me? Like, what benefit do I get?
Ashley, also one of the things that I tell them, not only because of their credit, I go, look, there is an incentive from the bank to actually give you basically moving money.
Yeah.
Anywhere between $2,000 to $10,000. I tell people, don't focus on the $10,000, because you may not get nothing. You may only get $2,000. Focus on the nothing part, and then anything else you get above and beyond that, it'll be gravy. At the same time, it'll just release you from all the headaches, all the stress, and then obviously, you're going to be moving on in life. Instead of having this thing like an anchor around your neck while you're trying to swim, you'll be done with it. You'll be able to actually breathe instead of this thing just hanging over you this whole entire time. And that's one of the things that I talk to them about. And I let them know, I say, look, not 1 cent is going to come out of your pocket. All the closing costs, attorneys, everything is paid for you. Okay. So, worst case scenario, you walk away from the house, and you're free and clear. Best case scenario, you walk away from the house and they may actually give you some moving money. At the same time, regardless, you are going to be free and clear. Okay. Yeah. So what's it called there? I put that out there to people, and because short sales to people seem very, very complicated. At first, when you're starting out, like Leon said, they are complicated. Like for us now, most of us on the Zoom meeting, it's not that big of a deal. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And definitely, Ashley, tell them, that, Colleen, that's still a case, right, where they qualify for relocation, potentially qualify for relocation bonus up to 10,000.
Yeah, it depends on the bank. Some banks are more willing to do that than others, but yeah, it can definitely happen.
But that's only if they're still residing at the property, right? If they've already moved, that wouldn't be applicable to them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you do have to remember, like I think Joe said, or maybe Scott, make sure you do that walkthrough, because anybody who's in a short sale situation is already in financial distress. The last thing they're going to do is put money into fixing something in a house that they know that they're losing anyways. So absolutely do the walkthrough.
Yeah. Does that help, Ashley?
Yeah, no, that definitely, it helped a lot. It made me think about another one that I recently referred in Ithaca. So I'm gonna definitely take everything you guys told me. I really appreciate it.
Good.
And by the way, the short sale that I'm doing right now, I told the seller exactly, you might get 2, you might get nothing, you might get 10. The bank's going to give them $3,000 to walk away. And he's just like, oh my God, that's going to be first month and security deposit for my next place.
Oh, good.
So, I right off the bat, don't focus on $10,000. Don't do that.
Right.
And right there in his head, he goes, that's what I was thinking. I go, I know. Dial it back down. And that's what he did. And, he wasn't disappointed with 3,000. He was like, thank God. And he's all happy. So we're actually going to be moving forward with that. And that just happened in the last few days.
Awesome.
Nice.
Thanks again.